Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. It's another slow news day. Not much is going on, but I do have a couple of things to talk about. There's a new node update for those of you who run nodes. I totally missed this because it wasn't announced anywhere that I was paying attention, but a user brought this to my attention, and we'll talk about that. And I also want to give a shout out to Bamasonic. For those of you that don't know, Bamasonic is a Pi moderator, and he moderates the Node Applicants chat, which I was on yesterday because I had some questions related to the node. He disagreed that my question was related, but it's a matter of interpretation, but I can see his point. But he does watch the show because he did mention my show in the chat. He says I speculate too much. He's not wrong. He may have more inside information than I do. But that's the point, right? In the absence of official data, there's no other choice but to speculate based on what we're seeing. But anyway, wanted to give him a shout out. I didn't want to respond to his comment in the chat because it was already off topic and I didn't want to get muted again. I don't think he would have muted me, but I didn't want to push my luck. Don't hate on Bamasonic. He's one of the good moderators out there. So let's talk about the metrics. The current circulating supply is 6.96 billion pi. And once again, there were no migrations in the last 24 hours. I'm not sure why. I would be a little disturbed to think that it was because of the amount that was unlocked, because I really haven't seen any obvious indication that the PiCore team is actively trying to control price. Who knows? Like Bamasonic says, it's just speculation. There remains 38 million pi in the Pi migration wallet. The migrated unlocked rewards are at 1.84 billion pi, with 5.6 million unlocked pi now free to be traded on the open markets. I wanted to make a comment about some of these metrics. I've been collecting them based on my local time, which results in my numbers not matching some of the other sources. My numbers aren't wrong. They're just based on different time scales. If there's an overlap between my time zone and another, that information will be included. But if there isn't, it gets missed. So you almost have to take a 2-day view to get the real number. I'm taking steps to try to synchronize this data so that my numbers match more closely to some of the published data. But just give you a heads up on that. My numbers aren't wrong. They're just based on different time frames. The Pi coin is currently trading at 61 cents, which is up 6.38% from this time yesterday. The market cap is at $4.27 billion, which is up also 6.38%. The daily trading volume is at $125.23 million, which is up 62% from this time yesterday. And if you look, the price was around 57 cents at the time that I made my last video. And before it was even uploaded, we saw a jump. And you can see that here in the chart. And we'll take a look at the candles because it shows it a little clearer. Right at 3 p.m., there was a surge in price. And there's no real discernible reason why. The only thing I can think of is that people have been hinting at a short squeeze. And this is a market thing where people see the prices going down and they predict that the price will continue going down. So they short the stock, which involves borrowing the Pi. When the price goes up like this, it puts pressure on their accounts and they stand to lose potentially a lot of money. So when you see stuff like this, you have to think market manipulation. But it can't totally be all market manipulation because the price is stabilized now at 61 cents. So this is the price that people were pretty much in agreement that the Pi coin is worth right now, and that this pump and perhaps even the drop was all orchestrated to liquidate the short sellers. This user says, You missed an important information that they published a new or a public version of the node container for Pi nodes. Could this be the first steps for making more supernodes and increasing the speed for validating and migrations? There's quite a few things to unpack here. First, I did not know that this had happened. I didn't see any announcement or anything. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spots. I don't know. When I saw this, I did take a look at my own node, and sure enough, the Pi node version number had been updated to 0.5.1, whereas the official version is 0.5.0. When I looked at the Docker container, which runs the protocol, it's the same version, 19.6, but it's a different version in that it's now labeled as a community version 1.0. So this is something new. I don't know the details of what changed in this container. Some have suggested that it's an update to the Stellar Consensus Protocol, which it could be. And others have said that it's an update to the Horizon API. It could be both of these things. It could be neither. I don't know. I have seen screenshots of people showing that their Horizon API had been updated. And for those of you who don't know, an API is an application programming interface, and that's put out by application developers so that you can write apps for their platform. And Horizon is a popular web-based API. So touching on some of the other points here, where we get into more of the speculative aspects, yeah, this could be the first steps in preparing the user nodes, which are currently running on the testnet 2 blockchain, for decentralization and supporting the open mainnet blockchain. I don't know. It's curious that you say making more supernodes. Are there actually users that are currently running supernodes? I've never received any information about the node allocation, whether it be supernodes or otherwise. If you know the answer to that question, please let me know. As far as the speed for validating and migrations, I think they're two separate things. Obviously, the node validates transactions, but I don't know what impact that would have on migrations, because migrations, they are transactions, but that's not the bottleneck. The bottleneck is actually queuing up those transactions, and that's just not happening. And when it does happen, it's happening at a rather slow rate. I've only been tracking user account migrations for a little over a week, and the highest daily total I've seen so far is 88,000. At that rate, it's going to take a long time to get through all of the backlog migrations. And that may be by design, or it may be a limitation in the current method that they use to determine migrated user accounts. From the fact that migrations typically occur within the operating hours of the West Coast, suggests that a human being is required to be in the loop, either as a supervisor of the migration process or an active participant. I understand that it's a complicated process to determine exactly what gets migrated and perhaps even who and when. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's the reason why this isn't completely automated. Because if it was completely automated, you would expect it to be happening 24/7, and it's not. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for the heads up. Well, that's all I've got for today. Like I said, it's a slow news day, but if anything pops up, I'll be sure to hop back on here and let you know. But until then, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.